Mackenzie, you here?
Yeah.
This is a huge improvement.
I got the tool down. I used it like the whole time. I just forced myself to keep using it until like it worked the way I wanted it to.
Now you get it, right?
Yeah.
And then have you done 2-point before?
Yeah, but not with like on digital. It was like in person, but I still struggled with it a lot.
Is it making more sense now?
Yeah. The way that I saw how you put the 2 points on the page really helped me a lot.
Okay, so now you can see you've got kind of the basis for your drawing, right?
Yeah.
At some point you can kind of, now you just start, overlaying a little more information over it, and then eventually, ghost it back, make a new layer and start just kind of running over it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right on, man. That's a huge improvement.
Thank you.
I mean, huge. So keep going. So I'll go through these pretty quick because I'm going to try and run down to the Orange County urgent care because they always get me out of there super fast.
Did we get a new folder to put the?
There's always a folder. There's always a folder.
Yeah, but for like the ones who we weren't able to put it in last time.
There's a folder there. The folder it's up right now. And by the way, I didn't close the folder today because when I saw those 2 empty folders, and that tells me something's going on with Google. So that's not your fault. Okay, so I've left it open.
All right, because I'm getting an error 404 when I click the link. Is this from the same email that that you sent out on Monday?
You have to go into Canvas to do it.
Right.
Oh, we go into Canvas. Okay.
This thing that I'm a month into this class, and every class I'm talking about folders is just, I don't get it.
Yeah,
my Saturday class, I edited 40 minutes of folder discussion. What's that, Elin?
Sorry, I had the same issue today, and I tried to send you a text, and I wasn't, for some reason, Canvas.
So at 1 o'clock, I shut the folder. And then I started looking through the work, and then I saw, oh, there's these empty folders. And somebody told me, it might have been you, I can't remember. Somebody goes, oh, I'm having this problem in another class where Google it's uploaded. It's just, they're not taking, it's just putting an empty folder. So that tells me, okay, it's not you guys, that's Google. So then I went back and I opened it back up because then I went, well, that's not fair. I'm not going to shut it down because Google's screwing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wasn't able to upload any today just because of that issue.
You guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
And then all you do is click the link and there's the folder.
Okay.
Right? I don't understand why that's hard. I don't get it.
Okay, that was my bad. I was looking on the email. I didn't go on the
I've said this 100 times. Everything is under announcements. I don't do anything by email, and I'll talk to you through email, but I do everything under announcements. If you're ever going, where's the folder? Go to announcements. Where's that link Eddie says and put under announcements? Everything I do is under announcements. Literally everything. Okay? Unless you email me individually, then I'll email you back. Or if you text me or whatever. And that's all fine too. But when I'm conveying information to you guys, I'm going to do it through there.
Hey, Mike, skip over my folder today because you're in a rush. I didn't really upload anything that needs to be talked about anyways. I'm still figuring it out.
Who's this?
Oh, Anna.
Are you okay on it?
Not completely, but it's still kind of the same stuff I had earlier this week. So I'm gonna work real hard at it tomorrow and over the weekend. Because I didn't have very much time.
Send it to me. Send it to me in the meantime so I can see it.
I did upload the garbage little 1 or 2 drawings that I did, but I didn't get any time to really work on them. I had a bunch of work for my other class, so I just uploaded.
Oh, so the other class is more important?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Just kidding.
Hey, Karina.
Mine's
when people tell me that, let me tell you something. When people, I've said this a million times, it's like, I would never go into somebody else's class and go, oh, I had all this other work. It was more important. Because then you're telling me, you're like, oh, that's more important to me. Or whoever you're saying that to. Does that make sense? What class is it?
I was for Dart 135, the
Which is?
digital painting. Digital painting.
Right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Mine's is still uploading.
Oh, you're still uploading, Karina?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird because oh, shoot. Because I just downloaded
Yeah.
it and it was still empty, so that might be my bad. Man, I can't
Okay.
believe I'm having all these weird problems. And then, what's really weird is I think I told you guys I've been having a hard time batch downloading stuff. And now I can batch download again, but only in Safari. Like Google won't do it. Google Chrome won't do it, which is weird because it's their product. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Were you able to get my files, Mike?
Who is it?
Brianna.
Oh, Brianna. Yeah. But you did the second one too, right?
Yeah. It didn't upload last time.
Oh,
and you said
okay.
to send it again.
Okay, so this one, I mean, I like which one are you going to do? This one's a little more dynamic now.
I panned out a bit so I could fit more buildings in.
Yeah, you could do this. The thing I'd say though is make sure you get what kind of roof is that?
It's supposed to be like those tin like roofs.
Oh, corrugated.
Yeah, corrugated.
Well, think of it like this, because see how they're a little wobbly right now?
Yeah.
So you have this, right? Oops, sorry. Then you do that. And then you can kind of, that's really crappy, hang on. Then you can come up here. I gotta calibrate my pen.
And I had a question, like if we wanted to do people, did you want them to just be figures kind of as they are now, or is it okay if we?
You could, I mean, I just don't want to, why is my pen doing such weird things? So I'm going to get the top more like that.
Okay.
And then they'll line up, and then I'll do the same thing down here. And I don't know why my hand's all unsteady today. It's weird. Well, part of it, like if you guys can't see my pen. One of the things that drives me crazy about Cintiqs is that they're not where the pen hits the screen, it's off a little bit. And it drives me crazy. I'm like, how? And then I've read stuff on how to correct it. And it's never worked.
Interesting. I think I've heard something about that before.
I forget there's a name for it. I can't remember there. That's a little better. So I just want this top and bottom to match.
Okay.
And they'll sort of, well, from this angle, they won't. Sometimes, if it's a more severe angle like this, then it's going to sort of roll over on itself. So this one, this is a little in front of this plane here. So it'd be a little more like that.
Okay.
Either way, right? Just make it a little more coherent. Okay.
I'll pull up some more references while I'm drawing them.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple thing. It's another one of those things where you go, you break it down geometrically. What's here? Is that like fruit or whatever?
Yeah.
Then I might change it up here and there. Like maybe that one's like that, and then this one's more like this. Just for variety.
Okay. And I was thinking about like hanging some like bunches of bananas or something from like the eaves.
Yeah, you could get something hanging here. Maybe it's fish. Maybe it's the occasional thing, could be kitchen items. I mean, it depends on where this world is. I like to get like stuff hanging like that so I can get some curves.
Yeah.
I'd probably put a little board under here because this would all be probably nailed down to a framework.
Do you think I should add like nails into the
Forget?
roof?
I might just put a couple little small ones here and there.
Okay.
I don't think I'd get crazy with it because at that distance, I'm really not going to see it. You can cheat it a little bit, and that's fine. You know, and then I'd put this stuff breaking this edge, so it's piled a little higher.
Oh yeah, that was supposed to be like a sign. To like,
Yeah, I'm just saying. I wouldn't say. I'm not saying put it here. I'm just saying maybe this one becomes an angled thing.
Okay.
This bin, you know, so the bins are a little different. Like, what's these X's here?
It was supposed to be like a design, like
okay.
on the bin.
Make sure that I know it's a design.
Okay.
You know, so if it's this kind of thing, you know, maybe it's.
Maybe stick a border around it.
Yeah, or something. You know, maybe there's a different value in here. So I just know it's a design. And then here again on this kind of roof. What kind of roof is that?
It's supposed to be like the Spanish tile.
Okay. Same thing here. So you're going to want to get a little more. I always give myself these little guides, and then like this one's coming way over. This one's not, you know, they're got to make consistent, like the curve needs to be consistent. They're all the same. And I don't mean like ridiculous. And like whenever I say this, I don't want you guys to spend much time on it. Just something like that, you know, and then make sure that this is just a little bit clearer.
Okay.
So you just want to be, you know, you don't want to oversell it because again, it's not the star, but you want it to feel like a finished idea. But you have the right idea.
How detailed do you want these to be by next week?
Yeah, I'd like to get wrapped up next week.
How would you do the Spanish tile going away from you?
Doing
Like
what?
how would if you see in the foreground, I wanted to do Spanish tile there as well.
Okay.
How would you I didn't know how to do the end of it very well.
Well, I think that's all you're going to see is what you got.
Okay.
Because you're not going to, obviously you're not going to see the end. You're just seeing the end of the tile, right?
Right.
So I think that's fine. You know, just make sure again that these are sort of following the same thing. You've got plenty of them here. You don't need any more than that. And then figure out some language for that grass. Because it's a grass roof there, right?
Right.
And again, I go back to this guy. Parallax. Somebody said parallax. I think that is the word. Okay, Karina's is downloading. Ugh. I keep seeing myself on Zoom meetings. I'm like sniffling. It's super annoying. I edit some of it out if I can. Hang on, sorry. I was going to get this guy. And just this guy for like how he simplifies things. Hang on. There's actually a couple examples here. Wait a minute. This guy never updates his website. These are nice right here. See how simple that is?
Yeah.
Now, you might, when it's up close, you're going to probably want to get a little more information. Another thing to look at. Hang on. Sorry about that. Another one that probably would be good just for simplification. Let me see. Maybe not. Like this kind of, this is really loose. It's a little too loose, but you start to get an idea of how they're simplifying this stuff, correct? Yeah?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Is this from Jungle Cruise?
Yeah, the reason I can look at these because like they don't draw like super entertainment designy. They just draw like design or illustrators more or less, and I kind of like that. And you see all this simplification, and this, by the way, is something I want to talk about a little bit. This is a good example of it actually. I was seeing if they had any good. It's weird they don't.
Maybe.
God, I haven't been to Disneyland in 1,000 years.
They're not even open yet, are they?
I don't think so. Here's a good example, sort of simplifying, you know, like this or this, sort of coming up with a little bit of a graphic language for it. It's a painting, so that's a little different. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, look at the color in this.
Watercolor?
No, that's probably acrylic. It's acrylic or gouache, one or the other. Look, a lot of those guys used acrylic at a certain period of time. They're using acrylic a lot.
Okay.
You got a lot of them up over Imagineering, like in the lobby and stuff like that, like famous ones, and they're sort of so cool. Okay. So like you're starting to work out a language for that, you know, and this close-up thing, you know, the thing with those kind of thatched roofs is basically it's this and then this overlaying that and then this overlaying that. So you've got like a couple of layers over it because that's what keeps the water from going under it. So first thing I start thinking of is like, you know, what's the end of it look like? You know, I can probably go pretty wide with it, but then I want to have another layer coming over it probably. And maybe that's just a little more linear like that maybe. And then maybe one more. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You know, and like this back here, this tree, I might just do what you're seeing on that Don Carson site where he's kind of going, you know, kind of putting in this little graphic language for this. you know, just simplifying. You're starting to do it. But like these are starting to feel a little random, these marks here. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah.
So you're going to want to, you know, sort of unify that idea. So if it's this sort of thing, you know, you can find like a little graphic language for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
that
by the
makes
way,
sense.
this thing on foliage I was talking about, you guys, like something like this, you can, if it helps you initially to think of it, you can kind of think of it going, here's the center line. And then it curves back here, right? So then I can kind of follow that idea. Or I can have this one in front of this one, because some of them fold up on themselves like that. Then this one I could put into silhouette behind the other one. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then things like the trees, or like a palm tree, I have an example of it somewhere. Make sure that you're thinking about that there's this internal thing going on, volume, right? So then if I go, okay, I got to just figure out the weave, and I go, well, these things have this kind of basket weave in it, but I've got to wrap it around that form. So it has to follow this form here. You know, and then I can come up to my, you know, and then up here would be the palm. Hang on. Okay, I don't care about that. Yeah. I have no idea what's going on with my machine right now. I don't know what's going on here. My computer's locked for some reason. Hang on a sec, you guys. I got to relaunch this thing. There. Jeez. So it's the same idea what we just talked about. Now what? Oh. This little part that comes down underneath the main palm part is also just things, they die. The palm fronds, they die, and then they do that. Right? So you know you always see a palm tree and then there's that bunch of them, right? Then the next group dies, and the next group dies, and they're just laying over each other like that, like that, and like that, correct? Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you're going to have this sort of center thing. This will actually get smaller down here. you know, we'd have a big long thing. And then everything's going to radiate out from that. And they're sort of like that. And some of them will go this way. And they'll fold over on themselves. And then I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to serrate this. And then this one sort of fell over on itself here. So then I'm just getting a nice little variety of things going on. And then there'll be like one in here. And then I'm starting to get a palm tree. Does that make sense? That type of palm tree. So the logic of it, I look at it and I go, everything radiates out from this center point. Then everything starts to die and creates this mass. And then I go into the trunk. That's how I see it, right? And then I go, well, the trunk has form. So where are those ellipses? And then that's how my pattern's going to wrap around it. Just like you do the same thing with fur. I think we talked about this. If I have some sort of animal, I don't know what kind of animal this is. But this also has mass going this way, or volume. So now if I'm going to put fur on it, it has to follow that form. Does that make sense? I think we talked about this with a zebra. Did we?
Maybe. I think so.
Well, like the zebra stripes. I talked about this in some class. So if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. These stripes have to follow the form around. Then they have this very rigid mane. It's not like a horse mane. So I usually block it in as a shape, and then I sort of serrate the top a little bit, because that's sort of what it does, right? Then this line will come down. Here's the leg. This line will come down, create a wishbone. So there's my wishbone. And then that's how the pattern transitions from vertical to horizontal. Does that make sense? So I'm looking at the volume, which way the volume's going, and then the whatever I'm wrapping around it, whether it's a trunk with bark or whether it's this, right? Fur.
Right.
You know, but the only reason I always mention this wishbone is that people draw stuff like this. They draw like a zebra or any kind of animal. And here's the leg, and they go, that's a Dr. Seuss zebra, right? And then the key to it, and that I look at when I go to the zoo, because I talk about this in my Saturday class, it's like you got to think about how patterns transition on animals or whatever. And the key to a zebra is he has a wishbone right there. So that one line turns into a wishbone, and that allows the pattern to go horizontal, which is really interesting that nature thought of that. You know what I mean? Like nature thought of that, like worked out that little design problem. And if you look at a tiger, you look at anything, you go, where does it transition? And it's interesting that nature goes, well, we can't just have that change. It's got to have an elegant, nice change of form, change of direction, you know, because nature's the best designer, right? Nobody's ever going to beat that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so does that make sense on this palm tree, you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so then I'm going to come in here, and it's kind of this idea. Let's just turn this off. Basic silhouette, right? We do not want to do this. Wait, am I sharing? You guys?
Yeah, you're sharing.
Yeah.
you're sharing. I can see.
We don't want to do lollipop trees. But one of the things you want to do with trunks and things, I'll usually angle them a little bit. Or maybe a little more. I want to get a little more dramatic. And then I'm thinking about this in the sense that there's masses in here, just like there isn't anything else. Lights here. And then this side is going to get like, you know, just like anything else. The masses are going to get shadow value. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
So when you look at a tree, you always hear this or whatever, you look at anything, you squint down, it's because it reduces it to basically light and dark. So that's really what you're looking for here. But what I do usually, and it's not just me, is these shapes, these masses, here's the lit area, here's the dark area. So what I usually do is where it transitions is where I start to put, and I'm going to do this very simplified, is where I put some of those leaf shapes. Then I have my next shape, let's say, down here. And then I start putting a value in between those. Put a couple of branches going up in here. And then I just start building it around. And when I get into this interior, I can get pretty loose. Out here, I'm going to give the viewer some individual leaves to show them sort of, you know, what's going on. And then in here, I can get much looser. And we'll put a little indication of some of that. Some grass. You know, my tree would be out here probably. Sometimes on the bottom of the canopy, I'm going to really simplify it. Then I'll show you some examples of really, really super simplified stuff. But that looks really good. And then down here under the canopy, I might do a really dark massed together shape. You know, and I want to cover up my branches a little bit. You can see how I'm starting to get a tree. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when you're massing it, that's where the darker areas are, right? And then the lights.
I'm basically going by light, and then I'm breaking it into dark.
Okay.
And then where it breaks, I show my break line is the leaves, right? Now,
okay.
I'll go in here, you know, and I'm not gonna not put anything here. I might like this. What I'm doing for another class. Let me see if I can find it. I'm doing it a little more.
Saturday one.
Friday, a Friday and illustration. So this tree back here is sort of that idea, right? This is going to be watercolor, so this will all be painted, right? You know, and then little simplification of indication of, and then here I'm just going to mask this together as a wash right there. Is probably like an orangey wash. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
And then you can see though, like, you know, and then I'll put a few things here. I might trick a few things out here in the foreground. I might even put a rock right here because I want to show them how to do texture on a rock. But that'll just be simple. But, you know, and then the shadow value here becomes part of the foliage here, right?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And then here, anyway. And then all this back here just gets masked into silhouette because that'll just be a blue, purplish wash back there. You know, sky will be blue. Blah, blah, blah. And then by the time I get done with it, he'll have finished all that beer and he'll be drunk. Okay, so does that make sense on here?
Yeah.
Okay, I had another so I have, like here's, I usually do this on the whiteboard in class. So here's our silhouette. Here's our masses, and then here's starting to build it, and then here's that light to dark idea. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then look at this one here, this graphic shape right here. Can you guys see that?
Uh-huh.
This one, where I'm using the silhouette on the back, and then using this in light in the front. So I'm creating these sort of graphic representations of foliage. Does that make sense?
Yes.
One of the best things you can do, and I don't know if they're open right now, is go to the Arboretum and just draw trees and plants and stuff. right?
Yeah.
Because it's cheap. I think it's free.
I was doing that at the Brea Dog Park yesterday for the
Yeah.
Saturday class. They have so much foliage. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, great. That's a great. I mean, anywhere, and they got trees everywhere.
Yeah.
But focusing on an individual plant once in a while. Let me see if I can find. So let me show you these. This is you guys know Jackie?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
She's super talented. But she was in my Saturday class. We were doing this, and let me find it. I also have this. Hang on. Another example of that. I didn't know I had this. So you can see here, I'm making the tree look a little more complicated. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The reason I like doing that is if I show a lot of students that, like right there, they're like, if just that, and I will show them how I got there, they'll think it's very complicated. And it's not, right?
No, it makes a lot of sense broken down like that.
Yeah, and it's very simple, but it looks, if the average person sees that, they go, oh my God, that's got so much detail. And it's like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But it looks like it does. And then you can go the other way, which I think is really fun to play with. This idea. So one of my students, she really pushed it just to dark and light, which I love the way she did it. So I always show it. See that?
Oh, yeah. You showed this in Saturday class.
Yeah, I always show Jackie stuff. Look at, those are beautiful. I think these are great. And these are from life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And what I love is her, that sound makes me crazy. Look at that.
Nice. That's sick.
Light, dark, and then you break it with the leaves right there. See, she's doing the same thing. This is from my class.
Yeah.
See, what I love about these is if I go find these, and I'll pull them up right now in a minute. And then the other thing I always point out about Jackie is her staging. Hang on, let me get rid of this. Why can I not get rid of this? No. This is a great one. This is when we usually go to the Natural History Museum, so that's where that's at.
Oh, dang.
So usually that class is nothing but field trips, basically. So these are at the History Museum. Look at that, man.
Wow.
He's a monster.
Sick.
And it's not as hard as you think. Okay.
No, once you break it down, it becomes a lot easier.
Right. But what her advantage to me, this is at the San Pedro Fish Market, is this sort of scene thing she does so well.
Yeah.
Simplifying all these silhouettes in the background, knocking in that cool. Remember we were talking about this, that curve right there?
Yeah.
She already stylized the bird. And what I notice about her that I think is one of her strengths, because this was done on location on the spot that day, right? Wow. She catches interactions with people, and I think that's very important, okay?
Yeah.
So just the way he's looking at the kid, and the kid's fiddling with the bottle and stuff, it's just very natural stuff. This is the stuff that I think is very important for you guys, especially if you want to be an animator. It isn't always some big grand gesture. It's like just nuanced interaction. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This guy was selling alcohol, like beers or something. See, interaction.
Right.
And what I love about them, they're fairly subtle. Like, it looks like she just said something funny. Obviously, he's just laughing about it. Really, really. And then really great stylization. So this is all on the same day because we go draw the fishing boats and we go over to where all the mariachi bands are and eat and all that stuff. And we go over there and eat. Anyway, this is something that like I've done and I'll probably do it again in workshops, which is designing from life. So we go somewhere and we design on location on the spot. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
gotta get your sketching skills together to do that, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so this makes sense, correct?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, so let me see if I can find this because it'll make my point. The thing I don't like that happens a lot with sort of entertainment people and stuff like that is they're taught this sort of stiff viscom-y way of doing this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing wrong with it, you know, and I don't think these are particularly good, but this style or whatever, you see it all the time, and it tends to be pretty rigid. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
It's not a bad thing to know, because when I go, so these people are good at this. This is why this is a problem for them. Because they're like, look at this. Like, this person is clearly good at drawing this, not so much this. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Uh-huh.
They're
Like one-sided.
They're industrial designers. They learn a specific type of drawing, which is called viscom or rapid viz or design drawing. And then they're sort of trapped in it because they're not very good at doing organics and things like that. I want you guys to be more well-rounded. Like, to me, what I just showed you of Jackie's is way more interesting. Those plant studies are so much more interesting, don't you think?
Yeah.
You know, but they're good at this. You know, they're good at this kind of stuff. And those aren't even that great. But, you know, it's industrial design. This is what they do. They design products. So they're used to drawing hard edge stuff like this. This style works great for this kind of stuff. And that's really what it's for. Anyway, I always point that out because I want you to know the difference. Yeah?
Yeah.
And I think Jackie's looks way more interesting. Just my opinion. You know, so what you want to start doing is looking at these things. Make sure you got a nice silhouette to start with. And then another thing you can do is we could come in here and go, this trunk is too fat for me. I don't like that. Hang on. Let's thin this out a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Another thing you can do is, so this can now come down. Maybe I got a couple of roots here. And then I can also start going. So remember when we talked about the curb? A curb has this natural, here's my curb, here's the sidewalk. It has these natural cracks in it that'll come down and drop and tell the viewer what's going on the surface. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I can do the same thing here. Let's clean this up just a little so it's clear. Also, make sure that your interior, like if you have a branch coming through here, make sure that some of that gets covered up with the leaves too, because usually you're not going to see it. You'll see them more down here maybe. Okay, and then I can just do a simple, whatever kind of trunk it is. And now I can start to go, okay, I can put a little texture in here, like here, and especially on branches and things like that. So if I have a branch, it might come out, you know, and I'll put a little of that texture on it. So I'm doing the same thing as this crack does, because nature is giving me this nice texture that's following the form. So I can kind of do that sort of thing. And as it curves a little bit, it tells the viewer that's a cylindrical shape. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I'll just come in here and go, maybe I'll do a little of that in here. I don't want to overdo it. You know, and then I'll break this with some, you know, this. And then maybe I'll do a different language for this little bush. And then sometimes I'll go, okay, I'm going to use the shape language of the edge to darken that up, get a little bit of that. You know, and then usually in this, when I'm talking about this, hang on. Where's that at? Oh, there it is. And then I can extend this down. Let's go. Then let's talk about this. Hang on. Hillside going here. And then if I want to put like rocks or something up here now, I don't know if I've talked about this in here, but like rocks are just series of planes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm looking at a rock, I try and break it down into where the planes are. You know, and by the way, I don't sit here and draw these things all geometrically. I'm doing it for the sake of this, right? But this is how I think of it. And when I first started it, I probably did do it this way. let's say it comes out here. But I'm seeing it like, okay, there's a plane shift, right? That's a little too square. There's a plane, there's the top plane, there's this plane, there's a little plane right there, there's one right there. And then once I get these things in here, then I can sort of organic them up a little more and make them a little, you know, and then have some grass at the bottom of it. Put a little texture on it. And I, you know, it's just a series of planes, and then I light it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I'm going to do that up here, you know, sometimes they'll kind of come in like that a little bit. And I'd start putting some up here. Give myself a horizon. Maybe another one. You know, maybe have some mountains back here. I always end up building the same scene when I'm doing this. And then maybe road. And then that's why I put this second wall here, or hill here. So then the road can come back over here. And then I get a third one, and maybe it comes up here. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then maybe I could put some more bushes here. I could put always make the bottom break something. So I'm using grass obviously here. Now my tree's too small. It needs to be bigger, but I'm not going to worry about that. And then, and even this back here, you know, if the light's up here, then I can start to light this. So that starts to get a little bit of form. And maybe here I can see a little, and a couple of things here. And then I might, as I get closer here, you know, maybe I'll show you some individual stuff. You know, and trick out a plant in the foreground or something like, or maybe something coming in here, whatever, maybe another tree here and the branches hanging in. And we just create like a really simple scene. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you're doing it in your, let me see if I can find one here. And then what's I said right here, what you're seeing on the interior is basically texture. So when you're looking at trees, you get the information where they're clear of the tree, and then the interior of it becomes less about leaves and more about texture. Same thing here. So if I'm doing, let me find one. What's nice about that, if you just think of it in terms of masses, I like how Mac just decides to shut my folders for me. It's really cool. Okay, like this one. Okay, so now you can see, where are you at? Where's Anthony?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, so now you can see what you can do with this kind of thing and this kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the problem with this one here is it's just too complicated. Okay, and here's the other issue. You're giving me a lot of pretty heavy line. Where's my light at?
From the right.
Oh, it's from here?
Mm-hmm.
So what's telling me that?
Nothing right now.
Okay, so like, and I'm going to overdo this, okay? you know, this side can get a little heavier. See how it separates? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
This is an overhang. That's away from the light. This is away from the light. Might be able to go a little heavier here and separate it. You know, places like here, there's sort of occlusion shadows, things that are underneath like that, I can go a little heavier on. This is away from the light, all this stuff, and it's also going to separate it. This stuff can start to get a little lighter as it goes back here, but I still want to control the line. So anything that's overhanging like that, I want to go a little heavier. Anything like this, I want to go a little heavier. You know, basically just think of your shadow side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then manage it. So you got a lot of really heavy line out here. You know, when it goes back into here and here, it gets a little less weight as it goes back, right?
Yeah.
And then define this tree, because right now it feels like it's sort of laying on the street. It feels like it's laying.
No,
feels like it's laying that way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wouldn't go too heavy on these, because they're not the star in my brain or my eyes going to those. So what I might do is just go in and select. Let me see if I can get rid of all this crap. I might just go in here and hang on. I'm going to do this really half-ass. I might just go in here and select all this. I mean, you're going to have to do a final pass on it anyway, so you could just do it there. But if I already have it this far along, if I was heading towards final, I'm going to go X, B. And I'm just going to knock it down a little bit. There, see how that's a little nicer? That make sense?
Wait, you just lowered the opacity on it?
Yeah, and then I'd probably come in here and just kind of go, oops. Here and there, like in the foreground, I'd hit a few. I'd reinforce a couple of them. Not everywhere, just a few places. And then let them all fall as they go backwards. Because you see how it knocked it down a little bit? It's not competing with your buildings now.
Yeah.
This cluster of buildings to me is kind of where you probably want your eye to go. Sort of these three. Then they start falling off. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hang on a second. Hang on. Okay. Let me see. All right, who else has got questions? Anybody?
Hi, Mike, could you look at mine? I was having trouble with the doors and stuff, like getting them to scale. Amelia, by the way.
Where are you at? Oh, Amelia, okay. There you are. And your folder's got stuff in it. Okay, you're having trouble with what?
Like the doors and stuff. You know how you were trying to put the person to like make it to scale and stuff?
Yeah. So what I do is I go, okay, now. Well, basically in this, because we're not worried about people. So a little bit in this. It's a little more, it's a little less important in here just because you don't have any people in it. But what I would do is once I put a door in, or I put a person, like here's my person. That's how big a person is in relation to that door, correct?
Yeah.
So then I can pull a line off at the top of that and the bottom of that person in perspective on my grid. And then I find out how big they are here.
Okay.
So, and then I look at this door, and mine's off. Obviously, I'm not really pulling it off a grid. But like then I go, well, how big is this door now? Now this door is really big, but if it's not monstrously big, then I go, well, maybe that building just has a bigger door. But all of a sudden, if it's 30 feet high, then I go, okay, that doesn't make sense. Unless it's a castle or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm just pulling perspective lines over to the next spot. And then I could go, here's how big this person is here. Now I could pull vanishing or perspective lines to here and go, that's how tall my person is there. All based off this same person.
Okay.
So once I establish a person, like when I used to do it, like for the renderings for Imagineering or whatever, I'd always just think of it as a 6 foot tall guy. Because I just go, that's kind of a, I don't know if it's average, but it's not crazy tall and it's not short, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I also looked up, I think the median height of people in the United States, I think. It's probably like, I don't know what it is, 5'10", I don't know. But I just go 6 foot seems about like a reasonable height, you know? I'm not going to put somebody in there 6'5". Like I know somebody's 6'5" and that's really tall. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, does that answer that? Okay, so now back here, let's get that tree nice and cool, right?
Okay.
And then again, where's my light at?
I don't know.
Okay, you need to establish that, all you guys, right away. Upper left, upper right. That's what I would say for now.
Okay. And then one more question. Like, what should I do with, like, the silhouette of the background? Because I was kind of, like, struggling with that.
Back here?
Yeah, kind of.
One thing you could do is you might, I mean, you could do a hill, and eventually probably just, that could just be a silhouette. You could do much more reduced information buildings. Just a couple. But then what I also might do again, like I just said with the other thing, maybe those just become silhouettes.
Okay.
Then maybe I've still got a hill back here going off. And that's it. I'd probably just use the idea is very silhouette-y stuff. Because you want the information to really drop off back here. It's going to give you atmospheric perspective, right?
Okay. Thank you.
And then this can actually, this little crack right here could drop right there. This one could drop right there. And then it's, again, and I'd also might go, I'm going to put a little crosswalk here.
Oh my god, my brother's playing.
Huh?
Nothing. It's just, I have a younger brother and he's playing tuba in the other room and I'm scared the audio's picking up.
Well, he's a real cool guy. He's a tuba player.
No, he's a nerd.
I can hear it. That's super funny.
I hate
anyway,
it.
I'm putting why am I putting that crosswalk there? Because it just gives the ground something, right?
Okay. I was gonna do cobblestone, but
That's fine.
Oh wait, the crosswalk. Not yeah.
Yeah, no, you can put whatever you want on it. But
Okay.
what the crosswalk does, or cobblestones, if I put them, see right now, watch your perspective, because you're giving me some cobblestones you're telling me I'm looking straight down at. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank
So
you.
you got to go, if you're going to do cobblestones, that's part of the reason I put that grid down initially, because it really tells my brain where the ground plane is. So you got these here,
Okay.
so now I'm going, well, these have to follow that same perspective. So they're going to be ellipses. See how they're laying more on the ground this way?
Yeah.
So think about that, right? So if we went even further with this and we go, put a square here, then I could go, there's my ellipse. But they've got to feel like they're laying on that plane,
Okay.
which is mainly in
Oh,
space.
should I add like another like sidewalk thing in front of the other buildings? I feel like
It's out here? Yeah, well, it would have a
Yeah.
sidewall. Yeah.
Okay.
Hang Yep. Hang on. Is that annoying? Okay. And by the way, I think I didn't put up the video from the last class.
I think you haven't put up the last two, actually.
Really?
One or two, but yeah, you are missing
One.
one.
I think I missed one though. I think I was just like, I don't know how much I talked about in there, or I think. So from here forward, I won't do that. Don't worry about it. Or if there's anything on that that you do think is relevant, tell me. I'll go find it and I'll put it up. Taylor.
So instead of what's it called? The stoplight thing, I did speed limit because there's like a lot of speed limit signs out there. And they're all 75. So I came from that, but I'm not, huh?
It's 75 out there?
Yeah, like the whole two-way highway, it's weird because it's like 75 and then there's like a really tiny town and then it's like 25. Like it just drops off out of nowhere.
So it's like mashing the brakes when they get to the next.
Yeah, you haul ass and then you gotta like, and it sucks because where it turns 25, there's like this giant turn. So it's like you're going straight for a really long time and then it's just like, yeah.
Are you eating everything but the bagel? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I'm just eating straight seasoning. I'm starving.
Are you really?
Yeah. I was eating bread with it, but then like, I don't know. I
It's
finished my avocado
actually
toast.
for bagels. You know that, right?
Yeah, but like, bagel bread.
I don't know. My
same
girlfriend
thing.
loves that stuff. All right. So this is covering up a little this building, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I probably might extend this out a little bit or add, something else in here.
Sweet.
Whatever you want. Maybe there's I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Whatever you want. Because it feels like I don't want to just have all this space over here empty.
Right.
I might put something.
Yeah, I was struggling with that too.
Yeah, I might put something
Should
here.
I do cars?
I was going to say, I might do like I don't know, maybe do a pickup truck or something right here. And then I get into my pile thing and I go, oh, he's got a bunch of stuff piled in the back of it. I just like doing that. But, and then maybe back here, maybe at a little bit of an angle, we do a telephone pole.
He's on his way to make a delivery and he stopped at the brothel.
Yeah. You ever seen Idiocracy?
Mm-mm.
There's a joke in that just reminded me of that. I can't read it because it's off color, but it's super funny. That movie's super, and it's what's happening right now, which is super scary.
Really?
Yeah. And like you
Check it
watch the
out.
movie, you go, oh my God, it happened. Because that movie's like, I don't know, 12 years old, 15 years old, I don't know. It's just the whole world is completely insane. Like the United States has gone completely stupid.
Oh no.
The president of the country is like this pro wrestler.
Yeah.
And everybody's just incredibly stupid. Now when you watch it, you go, God, that happened. It actually.
Too close to home.
Okay, then you can like pull another perspective line back here if you want and get another. And maybe another. And then you got an excuse for that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I might even put a couple going to that line, maybe. That's too much. And then what's here?
That was going to be a road. That's what I was thinking. Maybe I should put like a car or something right there.
Could also put, I don't know, depending on where you put it, you could put stoplight thing. That's a pretty sad looking stop sign or stoplight, but you get the point. And then maybe, the little indication, the walk, don't walk thing, maybe. You know, and it's just giving you start to populate it a little bit.
Right.
You ever seen that Pear Blossom Highway?
The what?
The Pear Blossom Highway. It's a famous piece by Hockney.
Mm-mm.
I love this. I like Hockney anyway, but now this is reminding me of this. God, this one thing is awesome about the internet. Anything you talk about, you just go, here it is. That made me sound super old, but oh well. No, that's not what I want. No.
It happens on my Instagram a lot. Like when I talk about something, it's just like, oh my God, I just got an ad for it.
Yeah. I mean, if you come from my generation, it's totally insane. It's total Star Trek stuff.
Yeah. Oh, damn. I like that.
Yeah, so they're all put together from like Polaroids, I think. I think he just took a whole bunch of Polaroids. And
Really?
Yeah, I think that's how he did it.
That's cool.
I know, it's really, but what I like about it is that for some reason, and he's very good at this, it captures the flavor of it.
Yeah, he even got the trash in it.
Yeah, and
that's cool.
He's done that in other ways where he just captures the flavor of like wherever he did a series of California stuff. And they just are like,
That's cool.
he has this one really famous one. Where is it? This one.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that one before.
Just sold for 23 million pounds. But I mean, that's really, it's just Southern California. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's Southern California. And he did a whole series of them anyway. I think he's a really interesting painter. But I always think you're really trying to capture the flavor or something more than anything, right?
Yeah.
Capture the vibe of it, I think. I mean, what else is there to capture? You know what I mean? And also, when you do this limit thing, that I might just use a font.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I just wanted to put it in there so then I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm definitely not going to use my own handwriting.
I mean, maybe if I was doing this like hand illustrated, I might, because sometimes the computer digital stuff will pop out of it too much.
Right.
But then sometimes it's not. You know, sometimes if I'm doing watercolor, then I'll just take a wash from the same painting and I'll fill the words with that and sort of soften edges and things, and it can be fine too, right?
Right.
I mean, it's kind of hard, even if you're going, this is a traditional piece, not to kind of, when you push it, like when I scan a final painting or something or illustration that's traditional, it's hard not to go, okay, I want to juice it a little bit. Oh, wait a minute, I'm going to go clean up that edge a little. It's just hard not to.
Right.
And then I kind of go, why not? You know what I mean? Now, if I'm doing that all the time to save my paintings because my paintings aren't very good, then I wouldn't like it. But if I can just do little tweaks and things like that, like there's things I might do a liquid frisket or something on a watercolor painting, and maybe I go, I'll just do that digitally because it's just a couple of pinpricks of light. You know, I might do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see just putting in a couple of things to populate it makes it feel a little better, right?
Yeah.
And then these mountains, are they going to be very vertical like that? Is that a stylistic thing?
No, I was just putting them in there.
Okay.
Just
so
to
make
get
sure
the
that
idea.
And don't make them all the same size, same height, right?
Right.
Maybe this one comes down, you know, comes down a little lower.
They're really like kind of like red rocky, if that makes sense. Like they're kind of like rigid.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So come up with some, you know, and then these could probably be more or less silhouettes.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
I really want to first just go down the rabbit hole of line, and then we'll talk about value.
Cool.
Because I got to get you guys where you understand line control. It's really important. I just don't think you can get to a professional level without it.
Right.
It's just, you can't. I mean, if you're doing deadline drawing, now some people do it as a style, mostly freelance illustrators and like editorial people. That is fine. It's a stylistic choice. I get it, but they understand it, and they understand it. You know. I think Jesse was just showing me somebody that works like that, but they're really cool. Jesse, was that you?
The guy who does the really cool line work for the hair, like the beard.
David A. Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of a his line's sort of even as I remember it, but it you know, it looks cool. David Levine, I think, does that maybe. What's this here?
Where? There's like a airplane underneath the sign, and it's, yeah.
Why is it there?
I don't know. It's just there, like in real life.
Okay, so then go ahead.
I forget what it was for. I think it's by like a VFW or something.
It's just one of those weird desert things.
Yeah.
I'd probably break it away from that because it's confusing right now.
Okay.
So it also could be that like this area here, shit, hang on. What happened to the tuba? Who had the tuba?
Oh, the tuba? I muted.
Oh, okay. Oh, by the way, you guys, I can't do it here. I'll talk about this when we get to Photoshop. I get that. So I might go.
Oh shit, hold on.
Where'd she go?
We still have a house phone.
You what?
We still have a house phone.
Well, we still do here. My cell phone doesn't work in this house.
Really?
Okay, so maybe pull it away a little bit. So I can read enough of it to know there's a plane there.
Okay.
It also takes a little bit of this problem away, the mid value, the mid section that was so empty.
Right.
I mean, you can move it anywhere you want. Because out in the desert, man, like stuff like this doesn't make any sense anyway.
Yeah.
You're just like, why is there a plane here for no reason? You know, and then maybe this goes behind this a little bit.
Right.
Or, you know, you try it over here, wherever it works for you. To me, it's a good prop. You could, there's a curve there. This needs to drop down a little bit. And then again, you know, whatever's going to be back here. So now I don't know if you need a car there as much now if you put the plane over a little bit.
Yeah, I like that a lot better.
And then it'll read a little better. And probably use fonts for that too.
Cool.
Right? But make sure you find good ones that make sense. Okay? Because people always go in, they do Cooper's Black, or they do, I don't know, script or something. You're like, what are you doing? Like, you got to learn how
Comic Sans.
You got to learn, Comic Sans. Yeah, that's what I was somebody posted, God, it was a while back. It was some official letter from like some congressman or something. It's somebody everybody hates. I can't remember who it was, some Trump person or something. And he had like an official like letter he wrote to somebody or whatever. It was in like Comic Sans. It was like from a senator, and everybody's like, what is wrong with this guy? Like, how could you not know how horrible that is? Yeah. Especially like
Are you 7?
Huh?
I was like, are you 7? Like,
right.
Those papers they have you write.
And I bet he did that too, because I see people like that. They do that all the time. Like people like office people or whatever, if they're like in charge, they'll come over to people and go, you know, why don't you try Comic Sans? I think that's good. You know, like they know everything about that. And you're just going, okay,
Yeah.
Comic Sans. So we're going to reflect on you, not me. All right, so does that all make sense?
Yeah.
And then is there any foliage in this thing? Or is it just desert?
No, I
What's
was just
desert?
gonna rocks like on the side.
I might do, is there any like scrub? Like ground
That's what I was
scrub?
about to say. I could do like these little like bushes, like
Yeah, I
the
wouldn't
really
overdo
dry
it.
ones.
But it's also a nice way to break up
Yeah.
this horizon back here if you just kind of put a little texture back there.
Oh,
And then like we said, maybe you can do some of those, some of the, if you want, blah, blah, blah. But it starts to get more populated.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, though, be careful with, because sometimes I'll say something like that and then somebody will put all kinds of stuff in it. And I go, you got too much stuff in it. They'll go, well, you said it should have been more populated. I'm like, okay, but within reason. It's got to be balanced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're after balance here, man. We're after design balance and all that kind of stuff. Okay. There was where's Danielle?
I'm right here. I struggled. I just realized I was supposed to keep the grid on, but I struggled a lot with like the perspective. So
The thing is, it's like, yeah, you're struggling with the perspective, but I like the drawing.
thank you. It's still kind of rough because I was
Get it?
trying.
Just make sure that it's on that. Okay, so let's look at this real quick. And I said 11 by 17. I didn't say vertical, horizontal. I don't think so. I don't care. That's not really important to me. If you're gonna do that kind of view, I love the drawing. The drawing looks great.
Thank you.
And then I'm gonna so you haven't done a lot of 2-point?
For me, it's easier to do perspective like traditionally. I don't know why the like digital grid confuses me so much, but
Really? I think it makes it super clear,
I don't know. It just confuses me, so that's why I've been trying to like figure it out, I guess.
Yeah, you need, it's really helpful to have that tool. You know what I mean? Because I've seen kids in classes at the school, and they're on the Cintiq with rulers, and I'm just like, I don't get that at all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a tool in here for this. Like, why would I put a ruler, It just doesn't make sense to me. But, you're setting it up basically like that, and then your other plane is here. That's going to be your boats and all that. And then however you want to handle this background. But here's your main foreground element, basically, right?
Yeah.
So just set it up like that. And here's the thing. Set it up like this, right? And then if you want, way earlier if you want, I always like to just put big landmarks. Way earlier, just go, take this down, put a new layer over it, and start freehanding over it.
Yeah.
Because this is just a guide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just sort of me knowing, like, okay, everything's cool. I'm in perspective and all that. And then if you want to turn one boat, just, eyeball it, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it looked like you turned one a little bit. And I'm fine with that. I think it's actually really good I'm really big on, you got to know this stuff. But then I'm really big on, like, take a good perspective, take Phil's perspective class, a great class, and really learn that. But then when you come into, like, my Saturday class, then it's like, okay, now you got to eyeball that, man. Forget about the grids, forget about the vanishing points, forget about all that stuff. And now we got to eyeball it, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm more used to. Is just
I am too.
Like
really.
drawing from the line.
That's why I developed. Well, I didn't develop it. That's why I use this type of methodology where I just put the big basic landmarks and then I just start freehanding over it.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't want it to get all perspective-y. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I want a cool drawing. I don't care about all that, but and sometimes I'll tweak something a little bit where I'll go, that's a little off probably, but it looks cool. By the way, this like on the foliage thing. It's another one where it's very simple, but it looks much more complex. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, this is from a Saturday class. Because I always do a demo when I get there, so this was a demo. But there's nothing back here. It's the same thing I just talked about, where now I'm doing a marker where I've just indicated a couple leaves and then darken the dark side of the mass. All this is just masked in. You know, a lot of this is just masked in with very little information. Does that make sense? But it frames the gazebo nice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like making the backgrounds less detailed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, I was sitting there when I was drawing that day or whatever, somebody came over and they're like, oh, God, it's so detailed. It's like, there's no detail in it. I mean, it's a compliment they say that, actually. I shouldn't make fun of it. And then I'm looking for where is it? So this one, when I was telling you guys to block your trees in, because this is a demo from Saturday also. You see how I'm just blocking the trees in right here? You guys see that here and here and here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just blocking them out graphically. And the reason I do that, by the way, early on is I don't want to draw that. If I'm drawing that building or whatever, I might just drift in it because I look at the building. That's what I tend to do. I look at the building, I go, okay, those windows repeat, I get it. And then I don't even look at the building for a long time. So I might end up drawing that whole area behind the tree for nothing because it's just going to go away anyway because the tree's blocking it, right? So I want to block those things out so I'm not drawing things I don't need to draw. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. See if I have any other foliage ideas. No, I don't think I do. Okay.
And for lighting, I was just gonna put the light like behind. That's why I put it like all shadowed.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to want to do a night view of it, right? Right now, I know you're a little more advanced. If you want to do some value, that's fine. But I want to keep everybody to line, and I want to make sure that your line is nice and punchy and makes sense in relation to the lighting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But I love the drawing. I think the drawing style is super cool. Did somebody just ask me to look at their stuff? I'm sorry. Yeah? Who was it? Nobody? You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep.
So somebody just asked me to look at their stuff. I thought they did.
I didn't hear anyone ask.
Huh?
I didn't hear anyone ask.
Oh. So now I'm getting delirious. Okay, so let's look at this. Since I haven't been able to see hers in a while. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. Where are you at?
Right here.
Oh, there you are. Again, I think, you see how there's no, it's paper again, right? I feel like this needs to come out a little more. And then these things got to get a little more uniform. I mean, and don't do all of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Don't do all of them. You want to do like, you know, mine are sloppy, you know, and I'll put, you know, I'll mass them somewhere. And then I'm just going to let them sort of drift off. When you do them all together like that, it starts to feel a little bit childlike. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then, you know, again, these, and I don't know how far along you are in this, but, you know, there's probably something here, some kind of trim or something. There's probably something around this door. There's probably something around these windows. whatever over here. If this is a lamp, I'd probably make it a little more substantial. You got to be careful with things like, with any of this stuff. I think I've said this. You got to amplify things sometimes. Does that make sense? So they're not like little tiny statements, right?
Right.
And maybe this comes down, creates a little bit of a curve. And then again, we got this thing just dying right into the ground like a box, right? There would be something here. Maybe it's just that it kind of has a little, I think, pediment or whatever that's called. It's on a pediment, whatever it's called. You know, kind of coming up that way. I don't know why this just, what is this right here?
That's some of the buildings I saw have kind of like towers and the top are round. And
So
they
is
have
this,
like little frame. Yeah.
but is this a building or is it like a monument or something?
Building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So shouldn't there be windows or something in it? Yeah?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if it has an, you know, usually they're going to break this up with something. Then again, like, okay, if I pull this over here and this over here, then pull it. Actually, I'll just pull it this way. This way. That door. You know, I got to make sure that this door makes sense in relation to this door and in relation to this door, because now we're getting like, this is a little tiny door, and then this one's much, you know, a little taller and wider, and then this one's like a dog door. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're all different sizes. So like, establish one, like I said, and then pull your vanishing points off and go, okay, how far is this, you know, where's this one going to be? And I know it's like, oh, it's like that big there. And make sure they're all, and then this one you can just pull straight over from the other vanishing thing. And then you know that one's that big, okay? And then if you're going, okay, this is a big grand building, let's say, then maybe I've got a taller door in it, but it's deliberate, right?
Right.
Okay, so make sure that this is like not overly, too many roof tiles.
Okay.
Hang on a sec. Okay. All right. Who else has questions here? Like, needs me to look at stuff.
Do you have my drawings?
Your folder. Oh wait, yeah, I do. That's weird. It was empty earlier.
If we don't have any more questions, are we okay to go and work on our drawings?
So Jesse's trying to get out of here. Is that what I'm hearing?
I just want to work on some stuff. It's so
No,
long.
I'm fine with that. If you don't have questions for me, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mike, before I go, so do we have to work on improving the drawing, right?
Well, of course, we always do that. Well, hang on. Let me go through Ethan's. Ethan, get it on a perspective grid.
What to say?
Like, I think this layout's better, but like this isn't going to the same vanishing point. This vanishing point.
Mike, that's Emma's, not Ethan's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so
right
then
there on the corner.
Poja's dyslexic. Sorry, Ethan. Where did it go?
Okay.
Yeah, your folder's empty.
Huh.
Try and re-upload it real quick.
All right.
I think that's Google. I don't think that's you guys. And I'm going to go back to Emma's real quick. Is Emma here?
Yeah, I'm here.
By the way, let me screen cap the room again. So I know that Jesse was here, so that's fine. Okay. It's this thing here. Oh wait, there's chat still. Hang on. Doesn't look like I'm going to get to the doctor today, but oh well. You guys, Jackie also taught a class over there. I hired her to teach fashion sketching. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Where's
I can.
Where's Emma?
I'm right here.
Jesse's still here.
I just
Do you hear me?
Because I feel like you said right as I went to leave the meeting, I heard you say wait, but I clicked it at the same time. Did you say?
No, you're good.
Okay. Thank you.
Emma, get this on the perspective. Well, let's see. Like this isn't going to a vanishing, it's going to a vanishing point way over here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this, if this is here, then that means it's going down like that, you know, off that same vanishing point. Wait a minute. No, yeah. So this is like that. Okay, and then there's your second one. So make sure these are all hitting those vanishing points, yeah? Because this one's like kind of going down this way. And then this one's kind of going off that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So do you want me to put it farther back and like
I don't really mind the view. Just get them on your vanishing points.
Okay.
Okay. Like you changed it from the last time, right?
Yeah, I changed it a lot. I had
Yeah.
to redraw like everything.
Yeah, I think this is better. What's this here? This line.
Oh, that is it was part of another building, but when I was trying to draw other parts of it, I erased half of it because
Oh, okay. So it's in process.
yeah, so I forgot to add in the other lines for it.
Okay. All right, get out. What's this up here?
Oh, it's like a bar. I was gonna have like flying cars too.
Okay,
because
so
I wanted to
also,
use-
so get that, you know, find that little box in perspective and then build your ellipse in it.
Okay.
So we know it's in perspective correctly, right?
Yeah.
And then make sure I know it's a bar. Or, you know, a restaurant or whatever it is. Like, how does, it's not
Yeah.
going to just in flat like that. It's going to have something down here. Might be
Yeah,
technology.
because gonna put like a sign by it, like a neon looking sign that says like bar or something like that, or yeah, so you could like figure out it was a bar. And I had like a little sign on the front of it, but you can't really see it.
Mine's turning into a spaceship. Okay, so just do those changes.
Okay, I will.
Okay, now it's there. All right. Okay, guys, when I start talking about, we start talking about plants and stuff like that, but we're starting to just step into organic ideas. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep.
And then I'm probably next week, I want to, start finishing this up next week. We'll talk about value with it and all that. And then we'll probably drag it into Photoshop, and I'll show you some stuff in Photoshop that we can do with it. And then I'm probably going to start talking about people, sketching people and all that kind of stuff, and I'll start talking about people, right? I used to do it differently, and I always tell my classes, I used to go, I'm not going to talk about people or character design or any of that kind of stuff until I get to people drawing. But now I like to introduce it much earlier, even if we're not doing it right away. I just want you to start doing it, and I'll give you a quick little simple methodology for it, just so you start getting used to it before I get to it. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
So sometimes I want you to understand, I'm always going to try and give you a heads up, a ways before we're going to do something, so we don't just jump into it, right? So you just at least got it rolling around your head, or you're like, okay, I'm going to try this people sketching thing without any sort of consequence to it, because I'm just going to go just draw people in your sketchbook and stuff, Okay, these are not, you're not using the perspective grid. This is better though, you dimension that up, so that's better.
Okay.
And then this wobbly line, get your line cleaner. Like this is a little too rigid, this one here on this building, and then this one's too wobbly. You want to be, nice. You can put down your grid pretty rigid. I don't care about that because I'm going to draw over it. I don't care. Okay. So you can block it out however, but make this, like this is going to a different vanishing point, this roof thing, than this one is, because this is like going up, and this is
the thing I was, you're saying?
Yeah, get it on a grid. This one looks like it's probably following the grid, this one here.
That's the thing I was trying to do, but I was trying to keep the lines on the roof consistent, and I tried not to.
The thing will do it for you. I mean, if you go...
well, sometimes when I do that, they look a bit wonky.
No, this will do that. There's your front building. And then here's your other building. Wait, which way does it go? Hang on. Oh, it's going that way. Okay. That's going the other way. Turn that off for a second. My Zoom always puts this bar in front of what I'm doing. Turn that off. I'm going to turn back on. Then I'm going to come in here. And then I can just go, okay, there's my roof lines or shingle lines. And I can just build it out like that, even though this is way too tall, this door. You know, I can start to block things in using my perspective grid, because then I'm gonna go off. When I go back over it, I'm gonna freehand it. Whatever I'm going to do. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then I'm just going to do the same thing right here. I'll just kind of indicate my shingles, and I can turn that off and go. And start tricking all that out.
Yeah.
Some flowers in there. The curtain. You know, blah, blah, blah. Make sense?
Yep. All right.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah.
when you get a chance, can you touch on mine, please?
Yeah, let me look. I thought I looked at yours. I didn't?
Mike, you did look at mine 2 days ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's okay if I go start on my homework.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. It's okay if I do like 2 pages in case if one doesn't go well, I'll give you another one.
I'm not going to ever fault anybody for doing extra work.
All right. See you, Mike.
All right, man.
Tuesday.
So like I put the circle with a tree because I want to maybe throw a tree right there, but I don't know. I'm just kind of, what do you suggest?
Okay, so now you've got your stuff. Now watch. Now look. If this is the vanishing point, you tell me this line here is the vanishing point, right? Or, you know, the line going to the vanishing point, right?
Yes.
Then, and then it's here. How come these bricks are not on that vanishing point?
I wanted to scale down. I started to play with
You what?
I started to play with like the structure of them, and then I wasn't really paying attention to the vanishing point.
Okay, get those on the vanishing point. So it's going to be more like these bricks are going to be more like on that. It's a little more of an angle. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's easy. That's an easy fix. And then here I might go probably put some kind of plant in this thing. And then break these borders a little bit. Like if this has got dimension to it, it should have a little dimension to it. And then get this stuff so like this side should match this side a little more. And then you could do a tree, or you could do, I mean, you could do anything there. You don't want to cover up, you don't want to cover up your whole building though. So yeah, you could do a gate. That's a cool idea. You know, do I see, where do I see, you know, I'd have to try it and see if it works. You know, is this the gate? I don't know. Actually, I don't know if that works.
I know you said we were gonna light these things. I was kind of really wanting to do a night scene, so I don't want to put something that's gonna.
No, you know what? You probably could do a gate.
Mr. Shannon?
Yeah.
Mr. Shannon? Am I allowed to leave now?
If you don't have any questions for me, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you could do something like that probably. Maybe I'd have this one open, going this way. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
So maybe like that. I don't know. Maybe this one's still closed. I don't know. Something like that. You have to play with it a little bit, you know, and come up with some fun looking gate. Maybe there's.
Can I block these in gray, giving them the value, or you still just want them in glass?
What's that again?
Am I able to block them in with like the gray tone, just so I
don't want
can
any value
see what
in
my
it.
light source is?
No, I don't want any value in it. Like if you want to do that just to block, you know, like go, okay, this side's dark and this is the dark side, you know, so my light's here. Just for yourself, that's fine. But I want this to be a pure line drawing.
Yes, sir.
Okay? I mean, if it helps you to visualize it that way, fine, but I don't want to turn it off. Put it on its own layer. Let's put a layer underneath it. Okay, do I have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Did you ever get my thumbnails that I emailed you?
Let me see. Is it something I
I was
haven't?
just wondering, so, because you had told me to redo my thumbnails because they were super rough, and I had emailed you them, and I just want to make sure you got them.
Oh yeah, these, yeah. Well, yeah, you're fine now. I mean, you have it worked out better.
Okay.
Now. Yeah, you're fine now. You passed that already. Sorry about that. I missed it.
Okay. I just want to make sure because I didn't see my grade changed for those.
Oh, that you handed them in.
Yeah.
Did you hand them in on time?
Yeah, I did for the original ones, and then you told me to send them in the morning the day after.
Okay, I'll go back and fix it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So does anybody have any other questions?
Can you look at mine? I think you called me on Wednesday, but I think I stepped away for a moment, so I didn't have a chance to hear your feedback.
I don't have anything.
For Grace, you don't have anything?
No, hang on. Let me check and see if it downloaded this last round.
Okay. I also uploaded the TIFF, but I don't know if like Google like cleared your file.
No, Google doesn't do it. I download them onto my computer, and then they go.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't have anything. Try and upload it real quick.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do that right now.
Hey, Elan.
Do you want the TIFF or the JPEG?
JPEG.
All right.
Elan.
Yeah, here, Mike.
Get this tree a little more put together.
Okay.
So a little more of that, like you can have a little bit of variation in there, but like this stuff ought to feel, you know, a little bit elegant, I guess. It's getting a little pointy like here, which isn't, I know some of them kind of do that, but I'd probably kind of go in here and just get it a nice organic line.
Will do.
Other than that, you know, and then make sure these, you know, and think of these, you know, you can do it just like that when I'm working on for the other class I was showing you guys, that bear or whatever, or torpedo in it. But, you know, I might just mass a lot of this stuff together. You know,
yeah, I was just building the kind of the mass silhouette first and then start putting in the leaves later. Is the silhouette overall okay, or should I completely change it?
I'd probably just go in and, I don't know, I like drawing trees. If I don't nail it the first time, I just go do another one.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that.
I kind of have to get my hands warmed up to get a decent organic line. You know what I mean? Like my hands have to.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
I feel like I felt like I'm still not quite warmed up yet, so I'll try more.
Just sit down and you just go what I always do, and maybe it's just obvious, but I always when I go back to anything I'm working on, I go back and I look at it and I go, what's the obvious thing here I have to fix? And that's where I start. Because then it's like, okay, that's obvious that I got to fix that. And then once I fix that or whatever I do with it, then I'm into the drawing or the painting or whatever it is. Then I'm into it, you know, because then as soon as I finish that task, then I know the next 3 things I got to do just because I broke the ice and I started working on it. But I always notice if I sat around and thought about it too much, I always just go for the easy kill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To start. And then once I get that, then again, it'll start to reveal to me what the next move is.
Mm-hmm.
Then if you have this in the foreground, you know, you can get a little bit of that texture idea.
Yeah, add more texture, yeah.
Yeah. It's not the star, but it is up close. So you guys want, I'll link Jackie's website on there. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Please do.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what she's doing right now. She should be working. You know what I mean? Right.
Is she still teaching right now?
I don't have her teaching this term, but I'll see if she wants to come back for the next one. She's the only, I've said this before, she's probably the only person I would let teach my Saturday class.
Yeah, she'll be a great teacher.
I think she'd have a
that
good,
class.
yeah, from everything I've heard from the kids, I think she was a pretty good teacher, you know? Where, who was it I was just waiting for? Oh,
Grace.
Oh yeah, it was me. I'm doing.
It's not in there yet? We are almost out of time. I would say I'm gonna.
A quick question, Mike.
Huh?
Quick question, Mike. About my building so far, I feel like maybe it's not stylized quite enough yet, or can you take a look at that really
I think you could probably push that.
Okay.
Okay, so
I just uploaded mine, so
Okay.
you can go over it after. Yeah.
When I start something like this, Elan, the reason I'm kind of doing this on the grid this way.
Yeah.
Let me get rid of this other crap that I did here.
Right now, all the darker lines are on another layer because I have the perspective grid on another layer, like you said, so that I can kind of hopefully get loose with
so
it.
what I tend to do is I usually do a couple of, you know, if I'm doing this kind of thing, I've already done a little bit of this kind of when I was doing my research, and I might go, okay, I'm going to fatten that up a little. Maybe I'll pull it in just a hair.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever my stylistic point of view is.
Yeah.
You know, if I want to do a little more cartoony kind of thing or whatever I'm doing. I don't know why I always do more of a top view. I don't know why I always do that. And then here, then I go, okay, I'm going to put a little planner here so I can put some texture in there. You know, so I've already done that. So what happens then is when I go to this, and I've got this gridded out like that, and I can take this now, and I can loosen it up.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to block things out a little more, and I might go a little wonky on it on purpose. You know, maybe I'll make these windows bigger so they just make a bigger statement. But I've got this guide underneath that's helping me along, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So see how it's like starting to punch a little bit?
Yeah. And then for Tuesday, do you want it to be to completion, or do you want it just like
Tuesday,
just a
I'll
step
take
closer?
another look at them on Tuesday. I figure you guys should be pretty far along by then.
Okay.
But it's not, and I'll put it up. I'll probably put it for Thursday or something. But see how we've kind of pushed the shape a little bit?
Yeah. I see.
You know, and then I'll go, is there dimension in here? I might make it a little thicker. And then I'm probably going to go, okay, maybe these are stairs coming down. So then I can go, I'm going to put a railing here. You know, stuff like that. And then again, like if this is a restaurant, then I'll.
So that level of looseness is fine for Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Totally. I want it to feel like just a cool presentation level loose sketch.
Got it.
Because I know like in probably prop design, things like that, you're cleaning stuff up.
Yeah, but it's so stiff.
Yeah, but I know you're doing that in there. And I'm doing a lot of that discussion in illustration and cartooning right now because they're doing inking and all that stuff. And it's like, you can't ink anything that's not finished.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so it's a really interesting, it's something. I think I've said this. I'm always looking for holes and things. And I saw that and I go, people don't know how to take things to finish. You know what I mean? So they come into like traditional media or whatever, or illustration, and they just go, I want to get to the paint, you know, and it's like, you gotta go through this step, then this step, then this step, then this step. It's a lot of steps, you know, and they get very quick. You get pretty fast at it, but it's like, then I think I've said this, they throw paint on stuff and you're like, all that paint did is just emphasize what a lousy drawing that is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you actually have to learn how to go to finish. And I think a lot of people don't really think about it. Like how balanced the drawing needs to be and how all, you know, just all of it has to be super designed, super balanced, super everything, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like one of them in traditional media, because you know how I go through that long learning curve in the first exercise?
Yeah.
And they're like, are we going to do other projects? I go, we're not just doing it. I go, but you've got to learn this. I go, we can't do any of the other stuff until you learn this.
Right.
And you also have to learn the patience of it. You know what I mean? You got to learn.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You got to learn to slow down. And when I say slow down, I work pretty fast, just naturally. But I do kind of, if I have a little bit of time, I'm going to slow down a little bit and enjoy it a little bit. Like enjoy it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hey, hang on. Oh.
Right. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, it's only 1 meg. It shouldn't take that long. What other class do you have right now, Yulan?
Basic design with Todd.
Oh, good.
Good class. The next project is to design a cover for a graphic novel of your choice, whether it be original or yeah. So I'm very excited about that.
Everybody needs a basic design class. I think people look at
they hate it.
People usually hate basic design.
Oh,
Todd's in particular.
I'm really enjoying that. I'm really enjoying the class so far.
But I not Todd's class in particular, just basic design. They always think like, this is so rudimentary. It's like, yeah, it is. It's the foundation of everything. What happened? What just happened here? Okay, I don't know what the hell just happened here. Grace, what was the name of that file?
It was Grace _Han_ I think perspective outline. Let me see.
Is this it? Yeah, this should be it. I don't know where it went. That's super weird. Okay, this has got to get on its grid.
Yeah, I did put it on a grid, but I just hit the grid
Yeah, because like there's some wonkiness going on in here.
Oh, okay.
It's got to get tighter, like a little more put together. Does that make sense?
All right.
So try and get this. What I want you to do with that grid is it really doesn't matter. A lot of times when I'm using that grid, that the drawing that I'm creating, again, is just like landmarks and stuff. It'll look really rigid, and I don't like that drawing. That's why I ghost it down, and then I do a layer over it, and I start freehanding over it. But again, I have that guide underneath telling me I'm in perspective, right?
Yeah.
So get it a little more structured up. And then again, if this is a bridge here, like here, how come I'm not seeing, so this is going to come across, I'm going to see the other side like that. Correct?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And then here I do things like, I don't know, maybe they've got flags here. You know, it's got to have some kind of lip. Like it isn't just going to end like that, right?
Okay.
So look at some, and then these things got to get sort of worked out. They can't just be sort of, you know, they got to be, you know, they probably have a little rounded top. So look, are you looking at reference? You should look at some reference.
Yeah, I have been, but maybe it didn't translate that well.
And then again, this is coming this way, all these cobblestones, so they got to go into perspective a little bit. And don't do so many of them.
Okay.
Kind of gather them here in the foreground and then let them fade out over here. You know, and like here, there's going to be some trim. Make sure these railings don't feel like a cable. They got to feel, you know, there's something there probably. There's something here. You know, maybe this has a cross member there, whatever they call that. And then, you know, make sure that this is coherent. So you got to make it all sort of coherent. Make sure it's all in the, because like this is going to some vanishing point down here, and then this is going to a vanishing point over there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This one looks like it. So make sure that they're on one of the two vanishing points, right? You got blocking them, you know, they go this way and they go that way. That's it. Okay?
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions?
Not a question. I'm just I'll work on more of my thumbnails and maybe a little bit more of the actual thing, and I'll email them to you tomorrow or Saturday.
Okay. Hey, Ren. You there? Guess not. What's this? Okay. Okay, guys, if you don't have any more questions, well, actually, we're at 4 o'clock, so we're done. Monday, or what is it, Tuesday, get these things as far along as you can, okay? Yeah?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
And then remember, we're going to do a new layer pass over the top of it, sort of freehand, okay? Over your grid, over your, you know, your things you created on your grid.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Yep.
The point is to be accurate, but nice and loose and really nice, okay?
Okay.
Okay, you guys. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Mike. Get well soon.
Yes,
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye.